Most of the works that have been turned from video games to series or movies failed. If you don't know anything about the world of The Last of Us, you should watch this video to the end. If I ask you, do you remember any movie or series adapted from video games that achieved great success or success close to the game? Examples that you will think of quite a bit. Correct. These include Tomb Raider and Warcraft. However, the production companies do not despair of the idea and keep trying to turn more games into movies and series, of course, in order to attract the audience of video games, which is a lot to watch these works. Welcome to MD Cinema, and we will talk about in this video about the story of the series The Last of Us, and some information you should know before watching The Last of Us that will be done by HBO. But before we start, liking the video if you like it and subscribe to our channel. The story. What is the story of the world of The Last of Us? In short, the events of the game take place after a disaster befell humanity. This catastrophe is summarized in the fact that a fungal infection spread among humans and began to turn them into savage creatures as close as zombies, but not zombies, and this fungal infection takes multiple forms, not one form. The story takes place precisely 20 years after the beginning of the disaster. After such a long period of time, the social and cultural order in which we live now has fallen, and within 20 years, human beings have estimated that they are creating small communities with a military system and strict quarantine due to the spread of infection. In such situations, man becomes an absolute selfish being who seeks to survive and benefit from the suffering of the other human being. So many groups have emerged, such as hunters who are considered terrorists threatening the threat of quarantine or small communities. Smugglers or crisis traffickers have also emerged, people who trade in human crisis, and other groups such as fireflies and many others who try to survive, but in their own way. The Last of Us popularity. What is hidden to everyone is that The Last of Us, specifically the first part, was the greatest game of its time, a game that was made with high mastery, starting from the story through the events and characters, to the charming environment provided by this game, and from the first moment of the game coming down. I remember it as if it was today in 2013 when I was playing this game. All the social media sites were talking about this game deserving to be embodied as a series or movie, to the extent that a lot of fans on YouTube made some live action scenes and went and embodied some scenes. And in the month of November 2020, HBO announced the adaptation of the game and presented as a series, and the presence of Druckmann, writer and maker of the game, as one of the participants in the manufacture of the series, in addition to a prominent name. And we must not lose sight of this name, Craig Mazin, who presented the series Chernobyl, which is a masterpiece of the HBO network. Why this series will be special. HBO has decided to venture into one of the world's most famous video games, The Last of Us, into a series in collaboration with Sony Pictures. Previous experiences of turning games into movies and series have not been much encouraging. Of course, except for a few examples, this time it may be worth the risk, and PlayStation Production will even collaborate to produce this series, the first ever television production. Let's mention that PlayStation Production plans to continue turning games into TV and movie shows. What details do we know so far about this project? 40 hours and the average actual playing time of 2 parts of The Last of Us means that we will be in front of a series of many seasons. But will the series tell what actually became in the game without adding anything? Of course not. Although the game is full of events and dramatic situations, HBO stated that the series will contain additional dramatic scenes, but will not conflict with the course of the original plot. If this is done in the right balanced way, fans will be excited to see their favorite game. It turns into a series, and sure, the lovers of the series will care and see such a work, and maybe they will get to know more about the world of video games and become games. What makes this game special and distinct from other games is that the game presented an exceptional story. I took the theme of the story from one level to another. The world of games in games before The Last of Us was interested in the story, but The Last of Us took the subject of the story seriously and paid great attention to many details. but among them the story of the story. How can you tell this story with the utmost perfection? And after The Last of Us, we see many games that took care of the topic of telling the story. And now these games deserve to be embodied as movies or series. By the way, news came out of the Amazon Prime network that it asked for the title God of War from Sony, meaning that God of War will become a series produced by Amazon and a pastor on that. I am sure that the coming period in a lot of titles will turn into movies or series. If we speak from the anecdotal point of view, I see that the first part of The Last of Us, the first part specifically, is ready. I mean, I know that there are many experiments to turn games into series, and these experiments have failed or even turned games into movies. And I'm sure that The Last of Us will be different. Specifically the first part, if it is quoted excellently, it will be different from all the other titles because my story part is ready. It doesn't require any effort. Every story during the first part and every chapter during the first part was excellent. Every character that was presented was better than a second character. And on the sidelines of the characters from the first moment that the cast of this series was announced, or the main characters of this series, Jules and Ellie, I see that there is a lot of talk on social media. They don't look like Jules and Ellie, and I'm frankly fair that there are people against choosing Pedro Pascal. But Pedro Pascal, one of the most skilled actors now on the scene, has played awesome roles in various series, talking about his role in the series Marcus, nor his role in the series Game of Thrones. A capable actor who is able to embody the character of Jules as you imagined it, dear viewer, as well as actress Bella Ramsey. Yes, her career is not a long one, but she has provided good roles here and there, including her role in the series Game of Thrones. And the point of similarity between the features of the character and the features of the actor who will embody this character between the game and the series. What is a turning point? What is a focal point? What is a fundamental point that makes me say this is a defect or this is a defect in this series is not something that makes me not watch the series because Pedro Pascal does not look like Jules in the game and Bella Ramsey does not look like me in the game. No, I'm not saying that there are no actors in the arena who look like Jules or Ellie, but the actors they have chosen are excellent, and the rest of the actors who chose them were a good choice for me. In general, guys, there is almost a day left for the release of this series, 10 episodes according to the words of IMDb. There are sites that say 9 episodes and sites that say 8 episodes, but I think it will be 10 episodes on a weekly basis. It will be released every Monday on the HBO platform, almost like what happened with the House of Dragons. Now we have come to the important question, and what are your expectations for work? Do you expect that this work will succeed or will fail? I am waiting for your answers under the comments box. Like in case you like this clip. And subscribe to the channel if you are a subscriber, and I am honored to follow us on social networking sites. And see you the next clip. Peace.